Hola. Welcome to video number 2 for cellular respiration. This is going to be on, as I get situated, like falling off the chair here. This is going to be on page 2, and possibly on page 3, we'll have to see. But this is also a very, very, very important concept because we're going to be talking about the relationship between respiration and photosynthesis because they're both extremely important and they're very much interrelated, and it's one of the overlying main concepts of biology, actually, this whole idea of photosynthesis and respiration. So on your notes, it says, number 4 on page 2, it says the energy found in organic molecules or food. Organic molecules, basically, we're talking about carbs, lipids, or proteins. The energy found in those molecules comes from the sun. Okay, so all of those molecules have energy in them. Remember, we talked about that last unit. One of their functions is all to give energy. That energy, though, energy can't just be created or destroyed. So that energy actually comes from the sun, and the energy then from the sun during the process of photosynthesis gets put into these molecules. Okay, so um, it says the energy found in organic molecules comes from the sun. The sun's radiant energy, so energy from the sun, light energy, is transferred into a chemical bond energy by photosynthesis. The summary equation is below. So basically, photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis creates a few different things. What we're going to be mostly looking at is photosynthesis creating glucose. Okay, and the equation there, I'd like you to add some sixes in front of some of these things. So 6 CO2, put a 6 in front. 6 H2O, put a 6 in front, and 6 O2. Because basically, in order to make one molecule of glucose, since glucose has 6 carbons, you actually need 6 carbons here, 6 CO2s, and the number of atoms is the same on each side of the equations, reactants and products. So 6 of these and 6 of these gives you 1 in glucose and 6 oxygen molecules given off as a byproduct. Okay, so basically what happens in photosynthesis, you might want to write somewhere on your paper that photosynthesis is when plants make their own food, and in this case it's going to be glucose, using carbon dioxide, water, and sun's energy. Okay, so you can see in this little picture that I have here, you can see photosynthesis is glucose here. So basically, light energy comes in, carbon dioxide and water are used. So light, carbon dioxide, and water. Okay, and that's CO2, H2O, and H2O, or CO2, H2O, and energy. Okay, sun's energy. That all of that happens, photosynthesis happens, and you get chemical reactions that occur. And what you get then is glucose, vital. Every living organism, every living cell uses glucose to make ATP. So you have to have glucose. So you get glucose and you get oxygen. Okay? What organisms do photosynthesis? Plants. We do not create our own glucose. Students always get that confused. We have to eat to get glucose. We do not create glucose. We cannot do photosynthesis. If we could go outside on a sunny day and we'd never have to eat again. We'd stand in the sun and sit there and get a nice suntan and get a sugar high. Okay, but we can't do that. We have to rely on food because we are heterotrophic, not autotrophic. Okay, so you can see from this equation, 6 CO2, 6 H2O plus energy gives us glucose and oxygen. And again, plants do this. Okay, now respiration, which is mostly what this unit is going to talk about. In respiration, the equation for respiration is basically the same equation, but going in this direction. Okay, so we take glucose and oxygen, glucose from what we eat, oxygen from our breathing, and what we get is CO2 and H2O as byproducts. We breathe them out, and we get energy in the form of ATP. Okay, so in this direction, it's photosynthesis. In this direction, it's respiration. Let me give you a hint. You have to know that. Memorize it now. Memorize it right when you're watching the video. You have to know these equations, not only for this test, but for the keystone. And it's really just important to know in general. Okay. I kind of have a little picture here. I have no idea why I chose to pick a penguin picture. Not even sure what this penguin's doing. It's like an angel penguin playing a harp. I don't know. But at any rate, you can see cellular respiration takes glucose, okay, and it doesn't show it, but basically you need glucose and oxygen, okay, and what you give off is CO2, H2O, and you make ATP. So basically you're transferring the energy from the bonds in, if you're doing respiration, you're taking the energy in this glucose and basically transferring that energy into the energy stored in an ATP molecule. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of it. So the equations there on your paper, remember to add your sixes in front. As this equation proceeds from left to right, energy stored in the chemical bonds, this is called photosynthesis. So going this direction, photosynthesis. Photosynthesis makes glucose. Okay, uses light and makes glucose. As the equation proceeds from right to left, so that's this direction, the energy is released into the cell and stored in ATP. This is called cellular respiration. So cellular respiration breaks down this glucose, breaks those bonds, releases that energy, makes ATP and byproducts. Since you have all these carbon, hydrogens, and oxygens, you have to breathe out carbon dioxide and waters. Okay, these reactions are reversible. Basically, that means they can go either direction. And they're inversely proportional, which basically just means that that's why we put the sixes in front, because whatever molecules you have on one side, whatever atoms you have on one side, you have to have the same atoms on the other side. Okay, so very, very, very important concept. All organisms do respiration. Only autotrophs do photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is what makes glucose. So plants do photosynthesis, they make glucose, and then they also do respiration and break down their glucose to make ATP. Okay? Whereas we don't do photosynthesis, but we have to eat food, so we get the glucose, or lipids or protein, but we get something that we can use for respiration. Normally we say glucose because that's the easiest to show in the equations. So we eat glucose, we break down that glucose, give off CO2, H2O as waste products, and energy as ATP. And that's what we get. And then our cells can use that ATP. Okay? So vital, vital, vital information. You have to know it. Okay, so please memorize the equation and be able to tell me what photosynthesis does, what respiration does, and the difference between them and how they're related. Okay, so that's video number 2, half of page number 2. And stay tuned for video number 3.